Well, it all began in the trunk of Jay's car, and he worked at Dow Corning, and he would load up a lot of stuff. And I have people, some of those fellows yet today come in and say, oh yeah, I remember Jay bringing all his trunk full of junk, and we buy it just to shut him up. And he would trade back and forth, and yeah, it started out as his dream.
Not yours?
No. But I made it my dream. And Jay had an injury on the job, which involved his elbow. And our kids were little. JJ was just a toddler. And anyway, he was off with compensation for a while. And then finally they gave him a settlement for the injury and let him go. And so we took that little settlement and we invested in some inventory and put it in our one-car garage that was just maybe 8 feet from our home, and that's where it began.
I hear stories about that garage that some skinny guys had to go up in the attic there, Jeff.
Yeah. When they buttoned up the garage, there was attic space up above. And I don't know why Dad didn't make the hole any bigger. Maybe it was by design, looking back, but there was no way he was going to get through that. And he had to, he just put 2x4s right along the wall, so it was hard to get up in the first place. And he started out putting, gun boxes and stuff that was going to take away from garage space. So if he needed something, I was the one that had to shinny up the 2x4s and through the little hole and go fetch whatever he needed. That was my job.
JJ, what's your earliest recollection? What was your job early on?
Staying out of trouble.
Yeah. I just remember hanging out. I remember the garage, but I don't remember doing a lot there. I remember we had old ammo displays, one from Winchester and one from Remington. They sat in front of the garage door. Didn't do much. I was little.
Didn't you have to pick up walnuts? I had to pick up walnuts.
We had 2 walnut trees right.
Tell them about the walnut trees.
Right. 2 walnut trees right in front of the garage, and they just dumped boatloads of nuts on the ground and slimy. And yeah, I do remember picking them up.
Our garage, of course, was in a residential area. And especially in the fall, all of the customers would park up and down the streets. You couldn't hardly get down the street. And one of the new neighbors that moved in decided they wanted to put a little business in their front porch. And the city told them they couldn't do that. And he said, but the guy across the street is doing that out of his garage. And so, of course, the city let us go up until that point. And then there was a little discussion. So that prompted us to start looking for some place that wasn't residential that we could start our business. And there was an old house, a very old, rundown house over on 5th Street. And we were presently at State, so it was just 2 blocks over.
Same address.
Same address, just
311
different street.
East 7th Street was our house, and 311 East 5th was on 10.
Yep.
Kind of interesting.
So we moved to the blue building, and we put this 14-car parking lot, and we were so excited. And within 2 years, the people were parking on the street. Well, that's a main artery into the city. So, they started parking up the residential areas, over the residential areas, and it just got to
be... In people's driveways.
We got into a lot of trouble with that. I talk to people today that come, and they're older now, but when they were kids, and they'd have to sit in the car and wait for their dad. But they would, a local area like Mount Pleasant, Waveman, Harrison, around, yeah. And then when we moved to the blue building, of course, then we spread out, because then we started doing some advertising, legitimate advertising.
Before then, it was just word of mouth?
Well, no, we kind of, a lot of it was word of mouth, but we printed a little flyer, and most of it handwritten, and we didn't have a typewriter to begin with, so everything was kind of handwritten, and we pasted pictures on there, made copies, and mailed them out. We did have a mailing list. So we finally got a typewriter so we could address the envelopes. And so, I'm in the house most of the time with these two little kids, making this list, putting them in the envelopes, licking the envelopes, carting them to the post office. Yeah, it was kind of interesting.
Now, when you were doing business out of the house, I've heard stories that it was kind of it was an open door policy, and you never knew who was going to be there at what time, including dinner time.
Right, exactly, especially lunchtime. And there were some old fellas, after a while they got so they would come at lunchtime, because the only way Jay could get lunch is if he invited in whoever was in the garage at the time. And so I ended up making huge platters of sandwiches, but it was kind of interesting about the ones that would come at least once a week for lunch.
And how long then were you in the blue building before you made the jump north of town?
1988. So we were there from 74 until 1988.
Oh, long time then.
Yeah.
Long time. And then did you just outgrow the blue building? Is that what happened?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
and the parking was an issue.
We were actually in Wholesale. My dad. This is my most fond memories. Is we were in Wholesale, and my dad would go to Detroit and Flint one week, and then rotate a week to like Saginaw. Well, when he went to Detroit, I always like to stay in hotels, so I always go with him. And I remember going down to Detroit to gun shops down there because he was selling wholesale to those guys, and bullet holes in the wall. And this is back right after the riots down in Detroit. And it was something else to be down there, and just spending time with my dad a lot down there. But it was pretty cool seeing a lot of gun stores, a lot of stuff down there. But yeah, Wholesale did when we did a lot. We used to sell golf, and we sold police equipment, and some things didn't pan out real good in the blue building, and we got out of them, and Wholesale was one of them.
I ran into a guy that remembered the garage just yesterday on the floor, a guy from Holton Lake, and it's fun reminiscing with those guys, like, oh, I remember coming into the garage. Well, you don't run into that many people anymore that remember the garage, so I always like to engage in conversation and reminisce, and it just, because sometimes you get so caught up today and how fast-paced and everything is go, got to be ready for tomorrow, what happened yesterday, you kind of forget, but man, you go back and going through this whole 50th anniversary, going through pictures and articles and financial statement stuff, you just kind of, you take time and you think about it, and it's amazing.
Well, Jay found this hayfield. It's what, 29 acres? 29-acre hayfield. And he said, oh, that would be perfect. There's lots of room to expand, and going on and on. And I'm thinking, we're out of town. Because when we're on 5th Street, traffic went by us, saw us. We're going to a hayfield a mile north of Clare. And I said, no, we're not going to do that. It isn't going to work. Well, of course, he was a very persuasive person and always got his own way. So here we are, and I'm just worried sick. And the first thing that happened is our parking lot was not big enough. We have this huge parking lot. Pretty soon we're adding parking lot, and then we're adding to the building, and it's like, we've been blessed.
Speaking of being persuasive, I have heard there were times when furniture in the house would come up missing.
Oh, yes. When Jay was hauling stuff to work, one day my bookcase come up. I had a job by then. I came home and my bookcase is gone. And I said, what happened to my bookcase? He said, oh, there was a fella that I work with that wanted that, would trade me a gun for it. So there went my bookcase. Oh, dear.
It's good. It's good to reflect. When you were asking about the blue building, one of my memories was, so we had moved that 2 blocks. We still owned the garage in the house. You guys were renting it out. I might have been in there or something. But when we were getting ready to move out here where we are now, and we were in the blue building, Dad started buying. Because, hey, we're going to be how many more times bigger? I got to fill that building up. And I just remember, where are we going to store it? We started filling the house up that we lived in to get ready to make this move out here. And I just remember there was just stuff all over. It was just unbelievable where we packed away stuff to get ready to come out here. Besides the blue building being full. Yeah.
And the volume of stuff back then would be minuscule compared to what you're dealing with now.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness,
Yeah.
no comparison.
Well, he did it all in his head. We have to have computers today
Yeah.
to do what he did.
He had a phenomenal memory. We'd have employees downtown, because downtown we had a warehouse. We never had one before. And they'd say, this customer wants this or whatever, but we don't have it. And Jay said, yes, we do. Go back to the second row from the back, top shelf to the left side, and it'll be there. And it was.
Wow. Wow. Going back to the move north of town, that was a big chance. I mean, a big, at the time, it was a huge risk, right? Because you didn't know what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And moving out here, there was people had businesses in Clare that said we were going to fail when we moved out here. They didn't like it because we were moving outside the city limits and maybe taking traffic away from them. But yeah, there's people saying there's no way you're going to make it out there in the hayfield.
Yeah. And we were a mile north of the exit, and the only thing at the exit at the time was McDonald's and Marathon. I mean, it's just different today, but there's a lot of people who said, you are not going to make it, Jay. Not that far out.
He was a visionary, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yep.
Was he a dreamer?
Yeah, I think so. Somewhat. He's very logical. Yeah. But
If his interest would have been somewhere other than hunting and fishing, was he going to be successful regardless of what he was doing, or was it that love for hunting and fishing that made everything click?
it was his love for hunting and fishing. I mean, it was in his blood since he was little. I mean, when he and I were kids was the 40s. We were born in 40. And they lived on a farm. They had very little money, very poor farmers. And the thing that they could do, they could hunt and fish. And so he learned young how to hunt and fish. And they used every bit of everything they hunted and fished.
During the move, or the process of planning the move, is that when Jay got sick?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, it was. He was diagnosed the weekend of the 4th of July with a fast-growing lymphoma cancer. And he lived until the following March. So he spent a lot of time packing a lot of stuff into our heads. And we were scared. I don't know about the boys, but I was scared to death. It was just like overwhelming. Because the one person whose dream it was, we were a part of the dream, but we weren't the dream. He was the dream. And we were the employees, he was the boss.
Did he get to see the new building?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He had chemo treatments, and his doctor said to him, before he went to Ann Arbor for surgery, he had to go to Ann Arbor for surgery, and he said, before you go, they put him in a wheelchair. They got him out of the Mount Pleasant Hospital, put him in a wheelchair, and we wheeled him all through the store. And the employees, the family and the employees, finished opening the building. And then he was here then later to be here, and he sat in this very room, and we had a little cot for him, but he came. We came to work every day. We got up, we took our showers, we got dressed. We might have only been here an hour or two, but we came to work every day. That's where these two boys came in.
Yeah, there was a lot on the line. We didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
It was bad, it's bad enough losing a parent, and then to lose your leader at the same time. It was a pretty difficult time, but we just kept the wheels going, and we just you learn as you go.
Kind of like Mom said, you take a shower, get ready, and go to work, and what was going to happen that day. But we really didn't. I mean, financially, everything was on the line. I think Mom would always say, boys, the odds are stacked against us.
Yeah, they were. But you know what? God was good to us. I mean, we worked night and day. We never took a day off. It was like one of those gerbils on a little wheel that goes around and around and around. And one night I'm at home and I'm just saying, Lord, I can't do this anymore. And I said, I'm going to give it to you. it's yours. And he took the burden off my back, our backs. He took over, and this is where we are today. Honest truth. Yeah.
When you first moved north of town, what size was the building we're in right now? How big was it?
36,000 square feet.
Which was huge for you,
Oh my
right?
gosh.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, yes.
It's 8,800 downtown, right?
Yeah, yeah.
When we first built this building and the carpet, we moved a lot of the old fixtures. A lot of the fixtures out here, there still could be some that came from downtown. And you walk into this thing and you walk through the door and it's just, and it looked enormous, you know. And when there's nothing in here, I mean, it's just wide open space.
It's huge.
When they first finished it, laying the carpet down, you know. And then you start putting gondolas in and hanging merchandise. It filled up pretty quick.
And did people come right away? Were you a draw immediately?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we had a good following from downtown, and they knew what we had, and despite what people said about coming here, those that knew us, they came. You know, we've got loyal customers. We always have. It's been, you know, you treat them right, you do what's fair, and they followed us, and that was our core, and that was to build upon that. But boy, you look back at some of the pictures now, and you think you filled it up, and it's like, wow, it just looks so spacious, you know. And that was 36,000 square feet.
Well, and eventually you outgrew that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, 94. 5 years later, we're busting at the seams. That's just how it just got steamrolling. We just couldn't stop it. Yeah.
You could see in my dad's blueprints when he did this building here that we're in here, the original one. There was another square block of an addition on that blueprint that he did, so he knew it was coming.
To me, it was gradual. I mean, you know, this whole thing has been step by step by step. Never any big, woof, you know, this is the day we're going to make it.
We're just always trying to get through the next season.
Even now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
fall now. And then it's, you know, it's winter, and then it's spring, and there's something, you know, it's either ice fishing or turkey hunting or, you know, Great Lakes fishing, whitetail deer hunting. I mean, you're just looking to the next one, so you just stay busy. And, you know, you just kind of take care of that and grow it a little bit and grow it a little bit. And
I remember when one of our ads used to be that we were the largest sporting goods store east of the Mississippi, and that made you feel pretty good, you know, that there's, you know, no one larger than us, and it's kind of like you made it, you're doing all right, and the competition comes along. But it was cool. I mean,
Yeah.
I felt pretty proud when you could make that statement.
when we expanded in '94, there was no Bass Pro, no Cabela's, none of the big chains, Ganders, any of that. We were the destination. And probably put us on the map and brought some of those others here, but then you deal with it. But yeah, we were in a good position.
Well, and then the big boys, the national the national outdoor retailers come into Michigan. That's got to be a concern. How do you deal with that? And what sets Jay's apart from these national guys?
Well, one is that we know Michigan like nobody else knows Michigan. Those other guys, anyway. We could react to. I mean, we knew what was biting, when it was biting. We knew what guys were doing in the field with, preparing to deer hunt. We know Michigan, and so we just used that to our advantage. And we small enough we could react to what was going on in the market much quicker than those big guys at that point in time. So, and we had loyal customers that, yeah, they're here. We might go look, but when they went to buy, they came here.
Well, and speaking of reacting, you saw a need for a store further north.
Well, Jay thought of that long before, but we didn't go where he would have planned. He had planned to go to Sault Ste. Marie.
Why Gaylord, and how did that all happen?
Well, one, Gaylord's on I-75. We knew we were missing a tremendous amount of traffic that came from, Detroit and Flint and that kind of that southern, southeast part of the state. And they used to go north. Everybody goes north in Michigan. We were missing that I-75 traffic, so we knew we kind of had to be there. And it just happened to be that I ended up running into the Johnson family, Johnson Oil, and they're based out of Gaylord. They had some space that they wanted to build something, and we talked about it. And hey, Gaylord's really good, 10 and 27 come together at Gaylord. It was a growing community. We just had a good vibe there versus being, in the Sioux and across the bridge a little bit farther. We could service that better too. It's 95 miles away. We could, transfer product back and forth a lot easier than the Sioux. So we just felt that was probably a better step for us.
And you had to expand that store or move that store and make it bigger.
We did. Yep.
That was a parking nightmare there also. And it just wasn't, the layout of the property wasn't what we needed. And to expand that store and the parking lot, there wasn't room there that we needed. Then that's when we run across the old Kmart building.
I'm always hearing from people, Avery, you work with Jays. We want a Jays in our backyard. So I'll ask you, what about future expansion?
Well, we need to get the next generation on board with whatever we do. It takes a tremendous amount of energy, a whole bunch of money to keep it in the family and do it the process we've done it in the past, and a lot of energy that the three of us don't quite have as much energy as we did when we were in our 30s and 40s. But you never know what opportunities come up, and what I think is really cool, Mike. Like today, there are 4 generations working in this building today, right now. My mom comes in, I'm here. I've got 2 kids here. I got nephews, JJ's boys are here, and I have a grandson that's working in the fishing department right now.
Wow.
So there's lots of hope and potential, and we just got to see.
You bring up the family side of the business. This is a family business. That that probably also comes with a little challenge once in a while too, doesn't it?
It does sometimes, but at this level, we've done very well.
I would say so.
We've been very fortunate.
Yeah.
And we were on we belong to a group, and they can get together, and it's a lot of family businesses, and a lot of siblings don't get along. And we see it all the time, and I let him run the show. I buy the guns and ammo, and he does a great job leading us.
And he does a good job buying it.
I think you've all done a great job.
You have to work at it. I really do. I think that has to be one of your goals, is to keep peace in your family. Because you can't do this any other way. Yeah, I mean, we've read stories. When Jay died and we did this, I read things that said, at this level, it'll never work. So we knew that. So our goal was to defy that and say, yes, it will work for us. It will. And here we are. We're still together. We still love one another. And we still have our family get-togethers. And yeah, it's great.
I'm going to ask each one of you, JJ first. When you look back on 50 years, a half century, just help me wrap up this podcast. What are your thoughts? What's in your mind right now?
Well, the current market it's just got us, it's absolutely nuts with the availability of product and stuff like that. We went through these ups and downs in the past, but this is pretty drastic and longer lasting than anything we've experienced in the past. And typically it's the firearms and ammunition industry. Well, it's expanded into kayaks and camping stuff and archery, just the availability of products. So going forward, it's going to be uncharted terrain, I think.
Jeff, your thoughts?
I just like reminiscing right now for the 50th anniversary. I've really enjoyed just going back and looking at the things that we've done. And we've done some really great things, but more important than that are the people. You look at pictures and you see the employees that we've had, and we have quite a list actually now of retirees. Mm-hmm. But when you look at those pictures, that's what Jay's is about. It's about the people. And I've just enjoyed soaking it up right in this moment. I'm living in the moment, Mike, and I'm really liking it. But I'm with JJ. We're looking forward, but right now,
enjoy it, right?
I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
Arlene? You were here from the very beginning.
I was the first employee. It is wonderful to have occasions when we can just, reminisce. But, we talk about people that worked here before. We had co-op students that would come from Clare High School and work to get credit and go on to college. And those, what I call kids, because they're my kids' age, come back and say, that was the best experience we ever had. Because Jay was not easy on those kids, He didn't want them to think that through their life, work was always going to be, fun, which our job is fun. But he wanted them to understand that when you're an employee, you have some loyalty and you have to work hard, You play hard, you work hard. And I think for me, the reward, a lot of it is talking to former employees. Sometimes they'll write me a note. And now I said, who ever heard tell of people retiring out of retail? Out of retail. We've got a basket full, and we have gals that get together once a month. And so it's just a lot of happy memories for me.
Well, you guys, Jays, the Poet family, have again created so many wonderful memories for so many Michigan families over the years. 50 years, a half century. Congrats.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We appreciate it.